The mop slipped from her hand and clattered loudly against the marble floor. Every head in the executive lobby turned. For a split second, time froze. The janitor's heart slammed against her ribs as she dropped to her knees, scrambling to grab the mop before security noticed. This was her third night shift in a row, and exhaustion made her clumsy. One complaint was all it would take. One report. One phone call, and everything she had worked for would disappear. "Leave it." The voice cut through the silence. She looked up slowly, breath caught in her throat. Standing a few steps away was the man whose face stared down from billboards across the city. The billionaire owner of the building. The CEO everyone feared. His tailored suit was flawless, his expression unreadable. "I said leave it," he repeated, calm but commanding. She stood quickly, eyes lowered. "I'm sorry, sir, I didn't mean—" "What's your name?" Her mouth went dry. "Elena, sir." He studied her for a moment too long, not like a man annoyed by an interruption, but like someone measuring something invisible. "You work hard," he said finally. "I've noticed." That was the moment her life began to change, and not in the way she thought. Elena had learned long ago that being invisible was safer. She cleaned offices after midnight, emptied trash no one thought about, wiped fingerprints from glass walls that separated power from people like her. She sent most of her pay home and slept in a tiny room she shared with two other women. Her visa was temporary. Every day felt borrowed. So when the billionaire summoned her to his office a week later, her hands shook so badly she had to hide them behind her back. "You're afraid," he said, gesturing for her to sit. "Yes," she answered honestly. He smiled faintly. "Good. Fear makes people careful." She didn't know what he meant, but she nodded anyway. "I've reviewed your file," he continued. "Your work history, your immigration status." Her chest tightened. "I don't like inefficiency," he said, "and deportation is inefficient." Her breath stopped. "I can fix your papers," he said smoothly. "Permanent residence, stability, a real future." Her ears rang. "Sir." "Why?" He leaned back. "Because I reward loyalty." The word sounded heavy, dangerous. "I just clean floors," she whispered. "And now," he replied, "you'll clean fewer floors." The offer felt unreal. Too big, too sudden, but desperation silences doubt. Elena signed documents she barely understood. Lawyers she never met handled everything. Within weeks, her status changed. She moved into a small apartment paid for by the company. She no longer worked nights. Everyone said she was lucky. But luck doesn't come with rules. He started calling more often, not work-related, personal. "Are you settling in?" "You should eat better." "I don't like when you ignore my calls." At first, she told herself it was gratitude, then obligation, then something colder. One evening, she tried to set a boundary. "I'm thankful," she said carefully, standing across from his desk. "But I want to live my own life." He looked amused. "Your life," he repeated. "Elena, I paid for your freedom." The room felt smaller. "I didn't ask you to," she said. "No," he agreed, "but you accepted." That night, she cried alone in the apartment that no longer felt like a gift. She began to understand the truth too late. The visa was not rescue. It was leverage. Months passed. Control tightened. He chose where she lived, who she spoke to, when she traveled. Every decision required approval disguised as concern. "Don't go out tonight," he'd say. "It's not safe. Wear something professional. Trust me. I know what's best for you." She stopped arguing. Survival demanded silence. Then, one afternoon, everything shifted. Elena was cleaning the executive floor when voices echoed from the conference room. She froze when she recognized his voice. "She was selected carefully," he said. "No family here, no power, completely dependent." Another man laughed. "And she has no idea?" She doesn't need to, the billionaire replied. The outcome is what matters. Elena's hands trembled. Her heart pounded so loud she was sure they could hear it. What if she talks? The other man asked. She won't, he said confidently. She owes me everything. The words cut deeper than any threat. That night, Elena didn't sleep. Fear turned into something sharper. Anger, clarity. She started paying attention. She noticed the way documents were labeled, the way assistants avoided eye contact, the way meetings ended when she entered the room. She began saving copies, emails, voice notes, contracts, anything that felt wrong. One evening, she confronted him. I heard you talking, she said, standing her ground for the first time. He didn't deny it. You weren't supposed to, he said calmly. You planned my life, she said, voice shaking. You planned everything. He stepped closer. I gave you everything. No, she said, tears spilling. You took it. For the first time, his expression hardened. Careful, he warned. You forget who holds the power. She looked at him and realized something terrifying and freeing. He thought she was still afraid. She wasn't. She walked out that night knowing there was no turning back. If you're still watching, this is where the story gets dangerous, because what she did next would either destroy her or expose a man who believed he was untouchable. She didn't go back to the apartment that night. Elena walked until her legs burned, until the city lights blurred into streaks of white and gold. Her phone buzzed again and again in her pocket. She didn't need to look to know who it was. By morning, the tone of the messages changed. Where are you? You're making a mistake. We can talk. She ignored them all. Instead, she sat across from a woman in a small legal clinic on the edge of the city. The lawyer listened without interrupting, her face growing more serious with every sentence. Do you have proof? The lawyer finally asked. Elena swallowed. I have more than proof. She pulled out a flash drive. For weeks, Elena had lived two lives. By day, she complied just enough to avoid suspicion. By night, she copied files, recorded calls, photographed documents. Every step terrified her. Every click felt like a risk, but fear had already taken so much from her. She refused to give it the rest. The lawyer exhaled slowly. Do you understand what happens if we move forward? Yes, Elena said. He'll come after me. And if we don't? Elena's voice broke. Then he'll do this to someone else. That was the moment the decision was made. The investigation didn't start loudly. It never does. It started with quiet questions, sealed envelopes, and people who suddenly stopped returning the billionaire's calls. He noticed, of course. Men like him always do. He summoned Elena one last time. You think you're brave now? He said, pacing his office like a caged animal. You think anyone will believe you over me? She stood still, hands clenched, heart racing. I don't need them to believe me, she said softly. I just need the truth. His laugh was sharp. Truth is whatever I say it is. No, she replied, not anymore. 2 weeks later, the story broke. Headlines exploded across screens. Investors panicked. Partners distanced themselves. Words like abuse, coercion, corruption filled the air he once controlled. The billionaire went on television, smiling tightly. These allegations are false, he said. This is a misunderstanding. But misunderstandings don't come with evidence. The documents spoke louder than his money ever could. Authorities stepped in. Accounts were frozen. Board members resigned. The man who once decided other people's futures now waited behind closed doors, powerless. Elena watched the news from a quiet room, her hands shaking. Not from fear, but from the weight of what she had done. She was offered deals, silence, money, a chance to disappear. She said no. I don't want to vanish, she told the lawyer. I want to live. Months later, Elena walked past the same building where it had all begun. The marble floors gleamed just as they always had, but the man at the top was gone. She paused, took a breath, and kept walking. Her life wasn't perfect. Healing never is. But it was hers, fully, finally. And somewhere a powerful man learned a lesson he never expected, that control built on fear always collapses, and the quietest people can change everything. If this story moved you, subscribe for more powerful stories like this. Like the video to help it reach others. And comment below, what would you have done in her place? Your voice matters.